Hello everyone and welcome on board the Sunset Safari here on Djuma and Arathusa Private Game Reserves. We're in the Sabi Sands. It's an incredible wilderness area that we are so fortunate to be able to traverse on a daily basis and to be able to share sightings with you live. And that's the most wonderful thing about this show, the fact that it's live and interactive. So if you are joining for the first time, very good to have you with us. And let us know that you are watching. It's very easy to do so. You can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv, and that way we can interact with you. So if it is your first time, like I say, let us know who you are and where you're watching. It'll be great to get some new viewers on board and get involved in sending through questions and comments. My name is Scott, if you haven't met me before, and Andrew is on camera with me this afternoon. Brent and Brian are going to head out on the other vehicle, so you will get to meet them a little bit later, but for now you are stuck with us, and we are currently in the area where we last saw Shadow, a female leopard, and her 1-year-old cub Sindile this morning. We had an incredible sighting of them. We probably followed them for close on 2 hours, but towards the end of the morning drive they split up. And she headed in one direction, chasing something. We weren't sure exactly what she was hunting, but she was hunting something. And we found some of his tracks now, and they've actually moved quite a way off from where she left him. And he's kind of heading towards the treehouse waterhole, which is over to our right. I was following his tracks just before we went live, but then had to rush back to the vehicle, and I've brought you back into this area with us. So we are hot on the trail of young Sindile, a male leopard, and I've heard some Birchall starlings alarm calling earlier. They could have seen him, and maybe they're going to lead us to him, or possibly some other animals will help us find him by letting off their alarm calls. We've got Nikki directing the show this afternoon, with Jess lending her a hand in the final control room. So they're going to be chopping and changing between Brent and myself, and like I said, you will get to meet Brent a little bit later. Okay, so what the plan is now is we're going to just drive around a little bit and stop and listen and see if we can't fine-tune where this leopard is. I'm fairly certain he's not far away at all, so I'm feeling confident that we're going to get to see him. He was quite full-bellied this morning and had fed on an impala that was stolen by hyena early this morning. So like I said, he was fairly full-bellied. He even managed to catch a little francolin while we were viewing him, but sadly it was as we were repositioning the vehicle, we weren't watching him, and next thing we knew he had a francolin in his mouth. So that was another interesting update from this morning. Karula was also seen, who interestingly enough is the mother of Shadow, and James rushed over to try and relocate her but couldn't find her in an incredibly thick block. But there's a chance that Brent may be able to work out where she's headed to. First stall for the afternoon. Hopefully there won't be too many more. I've forgotten how to drive after being on holiday for 2 weeks. But it really is so wonderful to be back. Like I said earlier, we are truly lucky to be able to traverse this wilderness area. We get spoiled with incredible sightings. We look forward to sharing many more of them with you as the months unfold. So I've got a feeling, and it's just a feeling, that he's somewhere in this thick vegetation to our left. It's quite shady in there, and that's where his last tracks were heading down in towards. Interestingly enough, when Sindile did catch that Franklin earlier this morning, we didn't hear any Franklin alarm calls. Usually you would expect one or two of them to at least call out. We heard nothing, and just looked up and saw that he had something in his mouth, and then worked out that it was a Franklin. And Lee, who was also in that sighting in another vehicle with his guests, actually saw Sindile catch it. So it did happen there, and then we just sadly were not looking at the right place at the right time. Well, as I'm off-roading, if you are joining for the first time, it's important for you to know that we do our best to only drive over the flexible plants that are also fast-growing. Look down there on this little stump, Andrew. And as Andrew zooms in, you'll notice a little squirrel running off. It's called the tree squirrel. They're the only squirrels we get in this area. And they really are cute, and they are also incredibly good leopard spotters. And if the squirrel did spot young Sindile, or any leopard for that matter, it would let off its loud alarm call. So a good sentry to have on our side when looking for leopards. But it seems like all is calm and peaceful for now. So we'll continue. And I'll try and stay as close to this little riverbed that's running down to our left-hand side here, and that way I think we might be able to get lucky in finding this leopard. It's quite a warm afternoon. It's 25 degrees Celsius. And I'm not sure how many degrees Fahrenheit that is, as my conversions are no good. 77, I am told. So 77 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite a warm afternoon, considering it's still coming out of the end of our winter period. And to give you an idea of how the temperatures increased from this morning, it was about 16 degrees Celsius when we started up the sunrise safari. So 8 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. Okay, well, because it's so thick in here, I feel like we should wait a little bit later, and maybe I'll come back here and do a walk through this area. As sadly, as soon as I jump off the vehicle, we have to leave you behind, and that's no good, is it? So we're just going to loop around to the treehouse waterhole quickly. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe he's already moved further along through this area. And failing that, there may be some other animals having a drink at the waterhole. Updated you on the leopard movements from this morning, but haven't told you much about the lion yet. And John in California would like to know if there are any updates on the Nkuhuma Pride or on the Birmingham coalition of 5 male lions. And John, I didn't share anything this morning about the Birmingham coalitions being found. And last I heard, they were further north of us in Buffalo's Hook. So no news sadly on them. And I am told that the Nkuhuma Pride was located this morning, I think somewhere on Tortured, which is to the east of us. but certainly an area where we cannot go. And I'm not sure how many of them were seen here. I know there's been a lot of displacements and trouble caused by the Birmingham Coalition of 5 males. And for those of you who don't know what's happened, basically in the 2 weeks that I've been gone, the Birmingham Coalition have come in with quite a force, and they're trying to establish their territory, and in doing so they've killed 1 lioness from the Nkuhuma Pride. I guess you could just say got caught in the crossfire of this hyped up, enraged young coalition of males. And they also killed 2 tiny cubs from the Styx Pride. And I was mentioning this morning, it's not uncommon for male lions to cause quite a lot of collateral damage to even fully grown lioness and young cubs when they come in and establish their own territory. So it is nature, but it's never easy to see it. We would obviously like to have as many lions as possible and not see any of the cubs or adults being killed. But I fear that it may continue to happen until things simmer down and until they actually effectively control this area, which will take some time. Come on, young Sindile. What I would love to know is how many times he's seen us either driving past or walking past, and he's just lifted up his head and had a look at us and then gone back to sleep once we've driven past without seeing him. Okay. Just check that little pathway that we're going to be turning onto now that you'll see. It was kind of in the general direction that he was coming from, so I was just making sure he didn't continue along this pathway to the water. It could be that he's already ahead of us, or he could be sleeping somewhere behind us. Either way, I'm confident we'll get to see him this afternoon at some point. We just need to employ a little bit of patience, as that is often one of the most valuable tactics when out on safari. You can't get flustered if you're not finding what you're looking for. You just got to take it slowly and enjoy everything that's happening around you. Just going to stop here for a second. There's a few warthog, they're very far away, but I'm worried they'll run off if we get any closer. So I'd rather bank this visual of them for you. You can already see they're a little bit nervous, and understandably so. They know they're in an area where they could be ambushed around the waterhole. It's a dangerous environment for the herbivores and the prey animals. It's a mother and her 2 little piglets on the right that would have been born just under a year ago. And I really am looking forward to seeing the next editions popping out at the end of this year. They are incredibly cute little animals. They're tiny little piglets when they are first born, and are great quality to watch. They run around excitedly, squeaking at one another, and that's something else you can all look forward to seeing in the summer months, which are just around the corner. Interesting to see some oxpeckers on the adult. You don't readily see oxpeckers on warthogs. And there's another bird on the water's edge called the blacksmith lapwing. So 3 different species, all enjoying the afternoon sunshine here at Djuma. It's been really interesting to note how much the water levels have dropped in the 2 weeks that I've been gone. This waterhole is not looking too bad, But Twin Dams is just a big soupy mud that will no longer be suitable for drinking. Notice how cautious the mother is. She just walks a few steps, stops, listens, assesses. One of her piglets has overtaken her, not too concerned, but she's making sure she doesn't run into any trouble. What a beautiful afternoon it is here. If you look up there, you can see some funny wooden structures, and definitely man-made, and that is the remains of the treehouse, after which the waterhole that the warthogs were just drinking at got its name. So this is Treehouse Waterhole, as I've said. And there are the remains. So quite nice to show you that, because a lot of you would have heard the name Treehouse Waterhole many times, but may not have seen the treehouse. Sadly, it's not in working order at the moment, but who knows, maybe it's something we could resurrect. And that's the view you'd usually have looking back into this area from the dam wall up ahead of us. Well, I'm happy to hear that one of our viewers called Mang, I think I pronounced it correctly, apologies if I didn't, but Mang has commented that he heard that, thought it was a different lioness that was killed by the Nkahuma Pride, and that it was not necessarily, killed by the Birminghams. But as far as I'm aware, it definitely was an Nkahuma lioness. And I think it was one of the youngest, the middle-aged three. So there's two older lioness. There were, I'm guessing, I think it was the middle one of the middle ones that was killed. Three slightly older sub-adults, and then two younger lioness. And it was one of the three middle-aged ones. The sighting of the warthogs we had earlier has sparked up a question from Cecilia. Good to have you with us, and thanks for sending your question through. Cecilia is interested to know if warthog are farmed in any way for human consumption. And yes, they are certainly farmed to a degree, not in pens as pigs would be farmed in this day and age, but all the wild animals in Africa, in some of the countries, they are kept in areas which are completely natural in terms of vegetation and terrain. But what is different is that there are no longer predators occurring in those areas. And one of the words used for an area like that is a game farm, because game is farmed there. And like I said, without any predators on the property, there becomes excess populations, and those animals are then harvested to keep a sustainable population within that wilderness area. And all of the excess numbers, which are harvested to bring down the populations, are sold as venison into the meat industry. And warthog, impala, kudu, many animals that are edible and that we see out here are farmed commercially, but in wild areas. Very seldomly will they be farmed in a pen. I guess one animal that may be farmed in smaller enclosures and less natural environments is the ostrich. But other than that, most of your antelope and animals like warthog will just roam free, and population counts will be done to make sure that, like I said, the population remains sustainable and the excess will be consumed by humans. Has turned into an absolutely beautiful day. It was completely overcast this morning. Look at the blue sky and a few dotted puffy clouds. All we need is a leopard in a tree now, and that in the background, it would be wonderful. But then again, I guess that would be greedy, because this weather alone is good enough for me. So, I know a lot of you may be wanting to see Brent and what he's up to this afternoon, but sadly they are doing some tests on his vehicle at the moment, and we've got Eugene and Peter Bright, two of the WildEarth technical wizards, hard at work there, but I'm sure it won't be long before they finish doing what needs to be done. And then Brent will head out and get involved in this afternoon's adventure. But for now, you are stuck with Andrew and myself. And that's just why we haven't sent you across to Brent to say hello yet. Sadly, Jamie has headed off on leave today, but she's done incredibly well. Her first cycle here working for WildEarth, and it's great to have her on board with us, and she certainly deserves her 2-week break. So she's going to be gone for a couple of weeks, so it's just the boys for the next while until we get Jamie back. And I think it's so great to have a woman on the team, because I'm sure it's already proved to a lot of you that anybody can do this. A lot of people are under the false perception that this is a man's job. It certainly isn't. And anybody who wants to do this, it doesn't matter whether you're boy or girl or where you are from in the world, it certainly is possible to come out here and work in the industry. Very happy to hear that one of our viewers is watching in Ohio, and it's Matty. Good to know you're watching again, and I've missed all you guys in the 2 weeks that I've been away. It's so good to be back, and happy to hear that you're watching. And I'm hoping we're going to find Sindile a little bit later, and we will probably head back to the treehouse waterhole in order to do that. And Maddie was interested to know what exactly was the treehouse used for. And that's a good question, so thanks for asking. I should have explained that. It's not uncommon for people who live out here and have camps in the wilderness to build platforms or tree houses where you can go out and spend the night under the stars with no electricity and no humans around, just you and a friend sleeping out in a tree house. The nice thing about being close to a waterhole is that hopefully some animals will come and drink during the night, and it's just a nice place to look out onto. So I'm fairly certain that's what it would have been used for. And it really is so much fun sleeping out. You can hear all the animals calling because there's no walls around you. I guess it's kind of like camping. But because you're up in the tree, you're pretty safe. And that way you could probably just have a thin mosquito net dangling over you, and that would be enough to keep you safe. And also just during the hot summer days, it's nice to be able to go up and sit in a shady tree and just watch the animals that come and drink. So whether it's used at night or day, I guess it depends on your mood. But that is, I'm guessing, what it would have been used for. But it hasn't been working since we got here, so sadly we never got to see it when it was fully functional. As I was saying earlier, I've been gone for 2 weeks, and I was mentioning how remarkable it is how the bush can change so dramatically in such short periods of time. And it's scary to think that it's going to continue to get drier and more sparse, probably for the next month guaranteed. It would be unlikely that we get much rainfall before then. And one thing that I also mentioned has changed is the amount of water in twin dams, and we're just about to approach there. And if some of you haven't been watching for a little while, you'll be shocked to see the level of the water, because there's basically none remaining. I think all of the catfish have already been plucked out of the water, or some of them may have been clever enough to burrow down into the mud where they'll lie dormant waiting for the next rains. An incredible adaptation of catfish that allows them to breathe in oxygen through tiny little holes in the sand. And they've got a very thick layer of mucus which surrounds their body, so they keep moist and can remain like that for several months, hoping and waiting for the next rains. Another thing that's changed is that the jackalberry trees, which there's a stunning example of on our left, their leaves have yellowed considerably in the 2 weeks that we've been gone. When I left, they were almost all still dark green, and you can even see a lot of these yellow leaves falling down as we speak. And sometimes it's just nice to stop and listen and take a look at something a little bit different that we don't spend time doing. And who knows what you might spot lying on one of these nice comfortable branches. Imagine if Andrew's frame all of a sudden popped onto a leopard. Wouldn't that be a pleasant surprise? I always wonder with trees like this, the stories that they would be able to tell you, because this is certainly a few hundred years old and has probably had many a leopard sleeping in it and has seen many an animal walk below it in the Mulwati riverbed. I've yet to actually see a leopard in this specific one. The next one down, in the opposite direction to where Andrew's going, but he's just showing you the Mulwati riverbed there.
Sorry.
No worries. And the next big jackalberry down over there is where some of you may remember seeing Mvula, a male leopard, and Kwatile, a female leopard, seek refuge when they were chased by two Styx lioness after they were interrupted whilst having a romantic evening here at the waterhole. They were mating and were rudely interrupted by the Styx lioness, so they were fortunate that that big tree was there that provided a safe refuge for them to scramble up and get out of the danger zone. That was a very exciting drive and a unique drive because Brent and I actually co-presented that. One of the vehicles had a problem, I can't remember what it was, so there was only one vehicle and it was a Sunday night, so we were supposed to be doing a fireside chat. But because Brent had spent so much time hoping to try and find Mvula and Kwatile, guys knew that they were in the area, we could hear them mating, see their tracks, but just couldn't manage to find them, that eventually when they were found that afternoon, Brent and I decided to join forces and cancel the fireside chats and come and take you on a joint safari. And this scenario lended itself magnificently to it. The leopards were sleeping right up here on this horizontal branch that you can see here, both Mvula and Kwatile, at some point in the evening. Quite a thin branch, but it was suitable enough for him because there was two angry lioness below him. At one point, Kwatile was lying up on that branch over there, and then she came back and joined him onto this branch over here. She was trying to seduce him in the tree. I do a seductive dance to try and excite the male leopards, the females, and it was quite interesting to see her try and do it on that thin little branch. She was having none of it. Beautiful. So the jackalberry tree is the name of these trees, or an ebony tree, so either name is suitable for them. Now I'd like to show you the tiny little puddle, which is Twin Dams. And 2 weeks ago, this little puddle was alive with catfish. I think a lot of them were probably eaten. There was a fish eagle that we saw every evening sitting here. Sadly, we didn't get to see it catch one, but I heard that somebody did manage to see it feeding on a catfish, but not actually catching it. Apparently, it was a monster catfish. But it doesn't look like too much is going on in there at the moment. And I think all that that is now good for is a mud bath. Andrew, would you like to take a mud bath?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. It would have been rude of me not to offer Andrew that opportunity, and I'm sure in the summer months as things heat up, the answer may change. And you see the cameraman running over the hood of the vehicle straight into the water. I remember last summer I got really tempted to just run and jump into the closest water hole. it's not a good idea because there could be a crocodile waiting there for you. Even in the smaller water holes, you've got to be very, very careful. So be warned, as hot as the summer may be in Africa, think twice about jumping into a water hole. Station, I've been copying you 1 out of 5 for the last 5 minutes. So this is our southern boundary, and we're going to take it in a westerly direction back towards the area of Shadow and Sindile, in the hope that something may have changed there. Current plan, but as a lot of you may know, the plans often change out here. It was just this morning, as I jumped out the vehicle to do the opening start, I heard a leopard being called in on the radio, but there wasn't time for me to respond or do anything. So all of you who were watching would have seen that all unfold, but it really is wonderful how you can get pleasantly surprised out here. Speed it up a little bit because there's another car approaching us, and I want to just turn onto this next road before it does get to us to avoid getting clouded in dust. So that is why I'm picking up the speed. And we've just got a comment through from Mauricia. Good to have you with us. And bless you, Andrew. Bless you again. Another one?
Oh, no, that's it. We've lost the animal now.
There was a steenbuck that darted off. Oh, well done, Andrew. So Andrew's back on it. It's a male steenbuck, fully grown, but only about knee-high. A very small little antelope that you would have seen darting across the road as Andrew was attacked by a fit of sneezes, but he seems to have recovered now, and the steenbuck seems to have disappeared. But Mauricia, good to have you with us, and Mauricia's commented that, isn't it incredible that in just a few months' time we would have been here for a full year? And you're completely right, Mauricia, it is. It's absolutely awesome, especially considering that it was only supposed to be a 3-month project for November, December and January, and now it looks like it could continue for the indefinite future. So really exciting stuff, and so happy that more people are learning about the concept and the product, and the more people that join in, like I've said before, the more fun it is for everyone, and the more people that join in, the more places we can go to. So that's another exciting prospect. As much as I love the Sabi Sands, and it really is an incredible wilderness area, it's important to realize that there are a huge amounts of other great wilderness areas in Africa and even around the world, not just in Africa. So with a little bit of luck and some time, who knows where we may be filming in the future and what wild and weird animals we'll be sharing with you. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'm told that the hyena's den site has been moved, but to an undisclosed location. So currently we don't know where the hyenas are denning, which is a bit of a pity, but the good news is it is rectifiable, and hopefully in the next few days, if we spend some time walking through this area where there are their den sites, we may get lucky and find them. So that's a little project that I look forward to being involved in, the relocation of the new hyena den, and it's high on the list of priorities of things to do, so don't worry. Hopefully, like I say, in the next few days we would have established where exactly it is. I'm not sure how long ago they moved exactly, but I think it was fairly recently, well, definitely in the last 2 weeks. And speaking of looking for the hyena den, I think Brent's also going to be very interested on that little mission. And the good news is he's not going to be only interested in that, but he's also ready to say hello to all of you. He's out with Brian and searching for something somewhere. I haven't heard exactly what his plans are just yet. But over to Brent, enjoy, and we will see you all a little bit later.
Good afternoon and welcome on the Sunset Safari. My name's Brent and I've got Brian on camera with me today, and I'm sure Scott's taking care of the rest of the introductions. So we're on a live African safari, also an interactive African safari, so you're able to ask us questions about what we're seeing in the bush. And you can do that by emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLive if you're on Twitter. So, I know Karula was seen very briefly this morning in this area, so I've come back to this area to look for tracks. So we're looking for the Queen of Djuma, the old dominant female leopard from this area. And hopefully we get some luck around here. We're very close to the camps, so we're going to go have a look and see what we can find. So unfortunately, Karula seems to have been spending quite a lot of time in this area, and it is a myriad of little drainage lines and drop-offs, so very, very difficult to get a vehicle in to follow her. So I'm hoping she might have moved out onto the road during the day, and we might have a better chance at spotting her. So James is on the tracking team. He's just given me a call on the radio. Oh, Scott's answered him first. So James looks like he's going to get out and give Scott and I a hand looking for some leopards this afternoon. I haven't heard any updates on the lions. I think they are still to the north of us. So we're going to focus around here for now. My goodness, this is what you call a whack of buffalo bulls. All resting around the Gallagher waterhole. Oh, and there's that funny looking one we've seen a few times. You see him standing there. He looks like he's got a very silly expression on his face. That big boss. And boss almost looks too big for his body. He's slightly turned his head. There he is, and turn it back towards us now. A very big group of buffalo bulls.
Resting on each other. If
all ruminating, chewing the cud. So they would have been grazing earlier in the day, and now they're around the waterhole and chewing the cud, ruminating, bringing that food up from their stomachs, and getting the most out of the nutrients from it. And in the dry season, these buffalo bulls are at a little bit more risk to lions, and they lose a little bit of condition, having to travel a bit further between food and water. And the food they're getting isn't as nutrient rich as it is in the summer months. So you do tend to see and find lions and buffalo kills more often in the dry season than in the wet season. And you see this old guy next to us here has lost one side of his horn, probably in a battle with another buffalo. And you can see that sort of roundish jaw movement there of the ruminant. And as always, when we're with the buffalo bulls, we get attacked by flies. So I was hoping maybe Krula had come down to this area for a drink, but with this mob of buffalo here, I doubt she would have, and she might have utilized somewhere else for a drink. So let's see if we can try count them. So we've got 1, 2 over there, 3. And we come across 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and I've probably missed a few. Probably between 30 and 35. The biggest group of buffalo bulls I've seen since I've been here on Jumo was at Buffalo's Hook Waterhole, and we saw, I think it was 42. So I don't think there are as many this time, but quite close. It's a whole group of oxpeckers you can hear buzzing away, feeding off all the ectoparasites on these buffalo. And you can see, as Ryan comes out a bit wider, that they do spend quite a bit of time in this area. And you can see all the dung and whatnot on the ground and how they've really trampled this area down. So, I don't think Karula's come this way, so we're going to go check down through to the drainage line and across onto Mvubu Road and head a little bit north. Maybe we'll get some tracks in that area. Bye-bye, old men. Watch out for the lions. Oh, hello, little one. One of my favorite antelopes. Little female bushbuck there. I wonder where mom is. It's a youngster. And they love these thick little areas around the drainage lines. Provides them cover. And you see as they walk very cautiously. Almost look like they're walking on eggshells, and very cautious, and they listen constantly to see if there are any predators around. So hiding behind the tambuti tree I'm going to head on a little bit further and see what else is around. They're very similar in a lot of ways to movements and patterns to Inyala. You do get them in nice little groups sometimes. I've seen 5 or 6 together on a good food source, and they're also non-territorial, and the males will only come sort of really follow the females when the females in estrus, similar to Inyala. Otherwise they will tolerate each other in mixed groups, and all around in these areas they are a little bit more shy and retiring than Inyala. That's right, we quite often don't see them as often as Inyala. Have a quick look on this path here. This is a very firm favorite of Madame Karula to use. I've tracked her down this big game path quite a few times. Just have a quick look if there are any tracks. Nice and dry and dusty and sandy, so you can see the tracks pretty quickly. Unfortunately, no tracks, so maybe she went further to the north, so we'll keep working our way around that way. Said Safari, Jerry. I was wondering, would that hurt when it breaks? Well, Jerry, fortunately, it's pretty much, if it broke there below the growing points, be like cutting your fingernails. So it wouldn't hurt, but if it did break a bit lower, it would be incredibly painful. As in ripping off your fingernail type painful, but probably on a bit of a larger scale, being such a big horn. So still on the subject of those buffalo, Margaret, welcome Margaret, was wondering, will that broken horn keep him a bachelor? Well, Margaret, interesting enough, what we saw there was a big bachelor herd. There were no girls in that herd. Those are all the retired gentlemen past their prime. They can't compete with the younger bulls in the big breeding herds for mating rights, so they move off and stay away from the big herds in drainage lines and around water holes, and they're sort of retired, sort of a gentleman's club. They hang around the water holes and things like that and stay away from the breeding herds. So it would possibly make it, if he was a younger bull, far more difficult for him to attract females, or not so much attract, but fight the other males for females. So definitely it could keep him quite bachelorish, but I'm pretty sure that's probably happened later in his life, just looking at it. And I know with Scott some time ago, you guys did see a buffalo that broke its horn lower down closer to the growing points, and there was a lot of blood, and that would have been incredibly painful. So we're going to do a big loop around this area, see if we can find any tracks at Karula. As I said, there's quite a lot. It's a very difficult area, lots of drainage lines. So we're going to do a big loop, head back to where we started. If we don't get any tracks, we're going to head off and see if we can find something else. and maybe come back here as it gets a little bit later, and maybe we'll get lucky and she's on the move. So I just got back from leave, so I'm still catching up with all the news about what's happening in the bush. And Hunts, welcome Hunts from Holland, and Jeannie from New Hampshire, welcome Jeannie. I'm wondering if there's been any news on the junior from the Nkahuma Pride, and where he is and how he's doing. To be honest, I haven't heard anything yet, but I will keep my ears open on the radio to see if there is any update about the Nkahumas and junior for you guys. And as far as I know, the Birmingham males are still to the north in Buffalo's Hook. They haven't been found yet this Sunset Safari, but I am listening, and I will keep you guys updated if they do find them. So we do pass game drives quite often while we're on safari, and we often share sightings with them. And Lael from Washington State is wondering, well, when you come on a trip here, do you have to take a guide, or are you able to drive yourself around this park? Well, the Sabi Sounds is private land, so it is not a national park, and you do have to have a guide that is employed by one of the landowners or lodges to take you out on safari. There are places in South Africa like the Kruger National Park, which is a public national park, where you are able to drive yourself around, but there you are not allowed to off-road like we do, so you can't follow animals into the bush. You have to stay on the main tourist roads. So there are places where you are able to, but here in the Sabi Sands you have to have a guide with you. Sorry guys, I'm just on the game drive ran over for a second. I'm just listening to an update. Okay guys, so I'm just listening to the game drive vehicles on the other side. So I've got an update for you on the Birmingham boys. They have been found to the north, probably about 5 or 6 kilometers, but their general direction has been south, so fingers crossed that they come back for a visit. going to keep checking in this area for Karula. We're going to cross across to Scotty, who's with one of our taller friends out here at Juma Private Game Reserve, and we'll be back with you a little later.
Welcome back, everyone. And isn't this a unique Marula giraffe angle we have? It's actually the same bull that we saw this morning. He hasn't moved far away at all from where we saw him, probably a quarter of a mile. And he's doing exactly the same thing he was doing this morning, and that is chewing the cud. He's just swallowed one bolus. Now watch closely, you'll see the next one coming back up his throat into his mouth. Should be on the way. Watch carefully, if you'll blink you'll miss it. Come on, buddy. I think he's trying to prove me wrong here. This is proving to be a little bit embarrassing, but he does have to continue. Maybe he hadn't swallowed that bolus yet. And now he's trying to blend in with this marula tree. Okay, Mr. Giraffe, well, it appears like you do not want to play along with us this afternoon. But he is very relaxed, so I'm sure we will get some better views of him. At the moment, he's making Andrew's life a little bit difficult on camera. But that is one of the realities about being on a live safari. We don't have the privilege of being able to edit and fine-tune the perfect shots, and you're seeing it just as it is out here, which is wonderful. Okay, well, let's see if we can try and reposition and get the sun more in our favor, and that way get you some better views of him. Happy to hear that Brent's out searching for any sign of Karula. I've been spending a little bit more time on foot in this area of where Shadow and Sindile were last seen, but haven't had any joy yet. It really is so exciting and wonderful to be back out on foot exploring this area. It's an incredible adrenaline rush when you do step out of the vehicle. It's a very different scenario in terms of danger and risk as soon as you spend time on foot. Watch your heads, everyone. Hopefully in the next few meters we should have a view of them with perfect sunlight. There we go. Very pretty clouds in the background as well. It really is a magical afternoon weather-wise. He's got an extremely bumped and battered head, as you'll begin to see as Andrew zooms in. Hello, old boy. You'll also notice two very small bumps or protrusions at the base of his head behind those two old horn-like structures. And it's not uncommon for giraffe to sometimes have those little bumps protruding. And also on the forehead, you can see one very prominent bump there. wonder what he's looking at over there. He doesn't seem like he's spotted anything. His body language doesn't seem too tense, but something appears to have got his attention. But as you can see, it's very thick out there. And without the elevation that he has, it could be anything that he's looking at. It's really wonderful watching their body language when they have seen something like lion or leopard or cheetah. Leopard and cheetah are interesting because they can walk past giraffe only a few meters away. The giraffe know that they're safe and the leopard knows that there's no chance of a meal, so they kind of just look at one another, and you can be really surprised at the proximity that cheetah and leopard do move past giraffe. The giraffe obviously keep a very beady eye on them, so if you ever see one, or ideally a herd of giraffe, all looking down into the same spot, it's worth rushing over there to see what they've seen. He's got an incredibly dark coat, which is probably attributed to two things, both genetics and age. Sadly, the thick bush that's in front of him is preventing you from getting a good idea of how thick, or sorry, how dark that coat is. Little tail blowing gently in the wind. I guess it's not really a little tail as far as tails go out here. It's one of the larger tails. There we go, on cue. I was mentioning earlier that it's a lot more dangerous to be out of the vehicle, walking on foot out in the African wilderness, compared to being in the vehicle. And Whiskey Bravo has just asked us about the safety of being in the vehicles. You know, be completely open, and it would be very, very easy for lion or leopard to pluck us from this vehicle. And through on game viewing vehicles throughout Africa, almost every wilderness destination you go to in Africa will have open vehicles. So even though the animals are capable of harming us, you've got to think back to hundreds and thousands of years ago when we were living amongst the animals. Over time, we became dominant over them, and that is why humans now rule the planet and determine what happens with all other animals. What have you seen there? This body language is looking a little bit better. I'm just going to continue driving while I continue to... Oh yes, it's a leopard! Can you see it there? In that gap, it like... Just zoom in over the fallen down tree. Perfect. More to the right. Focus further back. You got it?
Right there.
Awesome.
Wow.
And it looks like Shadow, and she's calling Sindile. I can see her calling. The giraffe helped us find the leopard.
Thanks, giraffe.
Thanks, giraffe. And we were just speaking about it a few moments ago. The good news is Shadow is trying to call Sindile. So we're going to see them reunite, and who knows, maybe she's been successful and made a kill. I'm guessing that's why she would be coming back to call him. So after having lost her kill already this morning, just hours ago. I'm fairly confident she's been successful again. And this is the exact area where she last left him. I found his tracks crossing Shabam Road, so she's still probably a distance away from him. But we are in for a treat. If we are in the right place at the right time, we are going to see them reunite. What are you looking at there? She's looking directly at us, or possibly behind us. Even though I didn't actually hear her calls, I saw her calling, but his hearing will be far better than mine, and possibly he has heard her and is already returning. Oh, I'm just going to creep forward quickly, Andrew, sorry. Going to be a little bit tricky, but that's probably your best bet for now, Andrew. Sorry. Beautiful. Look at her calling. Watch closely. Hello, Shadow. What a bonus. There we go. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Initially, she was just letting off the soft contact calls, but maybe she's frustrated that he's strayed far away from where she left him. And now she's battling to find him. And if she has in fact made a kill, she's going to want to get back to that as soon as possible. I'm just going to reposition quickly. We've got such an awesome opportunity to get an angle of the giraffe and the leopard in the same frame. Hold on, everyone. What a bonus! Oh, this is going to be beautiful. Get ready with your screenshots. Look at this. Incredible. No ways. Not easy for Andrew to frame it because the giraffe's so long. This is awesome. These are soft contact calls now that she's letting off, trying to call Sindile. And all this excitement, I forgot to tell all the other vehicles that we found her, so I'm just going to get on the radio and let everyone know. Stations located, Shadow. She is on Philemon's cut line just west of Shabam. Listen carefully. Perfect afternoon sunlight. Just going to get my camera out quickly. That's been gathering dust since I've been on leave. She's getting frustrated that she can't find him, but I'm sure it won't be long until he does come. And I just got a funny comment through from John. Wow. Sorry, John, I had to stop telling everyone what you said because that was just too good. But John just mentioned that the giraffe is part of the spotting team, and it certainly is. Look at him still sitting there just a few meters away, completely unperturbed. But how incredible was that vocalization, so loud, straight towards us. Now, I'm fairly certain that Sindile must have heard these louder, rasping vocalizations, and I'm sure he's heading towards her. Really interesting behavior to see. Well, I believe there's a flood of tweets and emails coming through from all of you mentioning how much you're enjoying this special sighting and how bizarre it is that the giraffe is completely unperturbed just meters away. But like I said, the giraffe knows that there's nothing to worry about. The leopard's far too small to take it down. So why get concerned when you don't need to, I guess? Where has she gone? Oh, she's just in front of us. Well, Sindile is going to be in his mother's bad books. I think we should just say thank you and goodbye to the giraffe. Thank you very much for your assistance this afternoon. I really wasn't expecting too much from you, as you are in a very relaxed mood, but you did an incredible job in helping us find this leopard on cue after just chatting about it. So, sure. Now, while we're saying thank you to the giraffe, Shadow is continuing to try and contact her cub Sindile. I wonder if she has managed to make a call. I'm almost certain she has. The intensity of her calling means she wants to get back there, and she almost looks frustrated because she's not where she left him. And we can expect him to approach from our left-hand side, kind of where she's looking back towards now, as that's where I had his tracks crossing Shabam Road, which is probably 100 meters from here. Shame, Shadow. This is too good to be true. I thought this morning was going to be hard to top, but all this vocalizations, the perfect golden afternoon sunlight, and a beautiful leopard is not a bad way to be spending an afternoon at the office, I don't think. Andrew, are we doing okay?
Awesome.
Very good.
Welcome back.
just got Aubrey trying to contact me on the radio for a minute, so I'll be chatting to him for a minute. Go ahead, Orbs. Okay, copy. Look at her flicking her tail. This is awesome. Now, I'm fairly surprised that Sindile hasn't showed up already, and so is one of our viewers, Elise, who's expressing some concern. She's worried that he may have got himself into some trouble. I don't think so, Elise. It's unlikely that something bad would have happened during the day. As a first point, there's not many lion in the area, and I think he's just strayed too far off from where she left him, and that's what's making it difficult for her. Oh, what's she heard? Has she heard a response from him? Once she does hear a response from him, I don't know if it's going to get much better than this. We should probably pack it up and go home now. As I was saying though, it's unlikely that she will go to him. She will wait for him to come to her. And who knows, possibly she's even heard him respond now. Just keeping on looking off to the left where I'm expecting him to come from. She does also keep looking back to the left. So maybe he has responded to her and now she wants to get on the move. Anyway, look at that beautiful afternoon sunlight. Sure. And that tail of hers flicking frustratedly. And understandably, he's got some food that I'm certain she wants to head back to. Well, everyone, we got some great news. We've got another new viewer who's just sent through her first question. So welcome on board, Fran. And so happy to hear that you discovered Safari Live this morning. And like I say, isn't it great that we can chat and have conversations and answer your questions? Fran's interested to know that her thoughts were that giraffes and cats usually don't get along. And you're right, I guess they don't, but because these cats are so small, like I said, the giraffe has nothing to worry about. She's calling again, which I'm sure you heard. Surely Sindile must hear this at some stage. Anyway, Fran, as I was saying, there is a chance that large male leopards will kill baby giraffes. I've heard of that happening, but I guess a mother giraffe will act very differently if and when she does have a young calf around, and if and when a big male leopard comes along. Even with lions, giraffe can kick very hard with those long legs and are incredibly difficult to bring down. So it's risky business, even for lions, the biggest of the cats we get in Africa, to hunt them. Okay, before we lose Shadow, I must continue on her trail. But thanks so much for letting us know that you're a new viewer, Fran, and it'd be great to know where you're watching from. So why don't you let us know whereabouts in the world you are? You can almost hear her desperation as well as frustration increasing each time she calls. And now she just flopped over, almost giving up. Aren't we lucky to see her calling so many times? I wonder if the go-away birds that I've just heard calling behind us, quack, quack, haven't spotted Sindile on his way here. That's a possibility. And on the topic of calls and leopards calling, Sposiso from Hermanskraal here in South Africa is asking, what is the correct term for a leopard's call? Well, the rasping call that we can hear now, Sposiso, like that of soaring through wood, would be called rasping, the rasping call of the leopard. But they also do have other calls, chuffing, which we got to see this morning, which is basically exhaling through her nose and mouth at quite an intense intervals, quite repeated intervals, kind of chuffing. And I've just heard a squirrel alarm calling now down to our left, close to where the go-away birds were calling, so I'm hoping it is Sindile on his way back here to join up with his mother. And there's also their contact calls, which I don't know of the specific name of. So certainly 3 different calls that they will let out. The kind of growling, wow, wow, that she was doing earlier before she increased the volume. She certainly is taking us on a little bit of a off-road extravaganza here. And like I mentioned before, a lot of the trees we're driving over are going to either pop back up after we've passed by, not causing major damage to them. And it certainly sounds a lot worse than it actually is. I think I may have heard a response from him. I could be dreaming, but I thought I just heard a call further off. It'll be so awesome to see them reunite. He'll be so excited to see her. And he'll know why she's come back to call him too. He will know, rather. Well, I think that's probably the 5th or 6th vocalization that we've heard. Certainly the most I've ever been able to share with you with one leopard and one sighting. It's not something we get to see often, so Fran, our new viewer from this morning, I hope you're enjoying this, and it's important that you know that not every drive or not every time you see leopards do you see them acting like we're seeing now. This is a very unique and special sighting, and the fact that these are naturally such shy and elusive animals that we are allowed into their lives to see how they act in scenarios like this, we are so lucky. You get many parts in Africa where leopards are high in numbers, but because they are not habituated and used to vehicles and realize that we as humans do not actually pose a threat to them, all you often get to see is a... Welcome back, guys. Brian and I have just spotted a serval right in the road. It's just off to the right. We're going to try and get a view of it now. Very slowly. I can hear the bird alarm calling at it. Sorry about crashing away from shadow like that, but we don't see serval very often. I think only twice on live drives have they ever been seen. You can hear that. It sounds like a roller alarm calling. The last time Brian and I saw a serval, it was a young one. This was an adult. I don't think it's moved too far. I think it's just stopped and lying down there. I'm going to go back a little bit again. So we're looking for any type of movement. So I don't want to drive off after it just yet in case it runs, but we're just going to stop and look and listen for a second or two. But really exciting. I don't think it's gone very far either. I think it's right here, just keeping still so we can't see it. Okay, so we're going to just drive off there a little bit and see if we can get a view through the grass. Okay, Brian spotted it. Can we see it from here, Brian, or do I need to move?
So it just disappeared past that termite mound to the right of us. Which way did it go?
Running directly behind us.
There or there?
Yeah, I think so.
There. So we're not going to push too far. We're going to get as far as that termite and we're going to stop. I think have a look. So we can see, Brian, if you have a look, there's a bird in that tree. If we come out, I'm not sure if we go, I think it's below that tree. See that bird's alarm calling. I can't see which bird it is, looking straight into the sun at the moment. But I think if we keep pushing, we're going to chase this animal, and obviously we'd rather much take our time and let it get used to the vehicles. They can become very, very relaxed given a bit of time. And in a really dry spell like we're going through at the moment, we are going to be fortunate enough to see more of these types of animals. So hopefully we can find it again, and we will definitely look in this area again. We're on Zoe's Road at the moment, but really, really exciting to know they're around, and we're starting to see them more and more often. So we're going to link you back to Scott. We're just going to sit here quietly, and if it does come out again, we will jump back, I promise. And I'll just get my book out for those of you who might not know what a serval looks like, and I'll show it to you quickly. There we go. It's a serval cat. Very pretty. One of the most stunning little predators we get out here in the bush. You notice it's got a very short tail. They're great hunters of birds and rodents. And this is only the second time I've seen a serval. Actually my first time on Juma, but my second time at WildEarth. Brian and I saw one together on Arathusa once. A young one, a sub-adult, but that one we saw now was definitely an adult, but really exciting that they're around. So from a very brief sighting of a spotted cat, we're going to pass you over to one that doesn't run away so much, and so we're going to go back to Scott and Shadow, and we're going to continue on. I don't want to disturb this animal too much, but we will definitely come back to this area and see if we can find it again.
Welcome back, everyone. Shadow hasn't moved very far since you left us, and sadly didn't get to see the serval, but awesome to know that they're around, and who knows, maybe Brent will get lucky and find it for you later. She's still calling desperately for the cub, but he's not showing any signs of returning just yet. I think Andrew's just trying to get a hold of me on the radio, so let me have a quick word with him. Go ahead, Andrew. No negative. I just got her, but she's trying to call him. He's moved from where she left him this morning. So maybe she's made a bumper somewhere and she's wanting to take him back to it, but she's having no luck finding it. We're currently close to Philemon's cut line, just west of the dump. No, make your way, just myself here. Go ahead, Brent. You're welcome to come and look around Treehouse Dam. His last tracks were east of Shabam Road heading towards the dam, quite close to that Jackalberry west of the dam. Just going to reposition quickly, sorry about that, but important to chat on the radio, just making plans with Andrew who would like to come and join us here, and also with Brent who would like to come and lend a hand in seeing if we can possibly find Sindile. Oh, I just got an interesting comment through regarding serval from Katrina, and she said it's the third serval that would have been seen since she's watching WildEarth, and the first time she got to see one was actually with Shadow, and Shadow had killed a small serval. So that's interesting, and thanks for sending through that comment, Katrina. Leopards, like all other predators, will eliminate any other predatory competition. So any smaller predators than leopard will fall into that bracket. And leopards too also fall into that bracket. Lion will kill them if they get the opportunity. Andrew, what's your position? Awesome. Just meters away from us. Oh, appears like she has some grass seeds stuck in her nostrils. That was what that little sneeze was for. I wish I could just tell her she needs to go a little bit further to the east, closer towards Treehouse Water, and then you'll probably hear her. I've seen him move quite far from where she's left him, and it's understandable. He's a big boy now and inclined to try and move around and have his own fun while she is off finding their next meal. I got the same question through from Mauricia and Lynn, and it is a great question and something that I was thinking about a little bit earlier, so I'm glad you asked it because now we can discuss it a little bit more. And that is the fact that she's vocalizing so loudly. Could it not potentially attract a male leopard, and who knows, also other female leopards? Karula, who will be competing with Shadow in our 4 territory, could very well respond to these calls if she was close enough by. So both males and females could be alerted to her presence. Look at her rolling around there. But I guess it's a risk she has to take. Not only other leopards would hear her, but if there was lion nearby, they too would hear her, putting her at risk. So I guess it's just a risk that leopards do have to take in order to find their cubs. There's no way around it. She tried calling softly initially, so that'll be their first move. But if that doesn't work, she does need to increase the volume and let off that loud rasping roar. Oh, the sunlight is just perfect. Look at this. Wonder how her throat isn't getting sore. It sounds like quite a painful call, quite a harsh call. And she really is desperate just to find him. I wonder how far away the kill is. I'm 99% certain she has made a kill. And imagine how frustrating it must be for her. She's done all this hard work, and now she can't find her son, who she wants to lead back to the prize. Well, we've just got an awesome comment through from Safari, and it is possible, Safari's mentioned that possibly Sindile has made a kill of his own, and that's why he's not responding to his mother's calls. And who knows, maybe you're right. Wouldn't that be awesome? It certainly is possible. He's big enough to take down an impala. Whether he's clever enough to yet is another story. But like everything in life, you do get lucky opportunities, be it whether you're human, leopard or lion, and maybe he had his lucky day and caught an impala. One thing that I haven't mentioned to you is that there is a slight breeze blowing, and it's blowing in a kind of northwesterly direction, which will be carrying her call away from the area where I last had Sindile's tracks. It probably wasn't too far from here that I last had his tracks, probably half a mile. But maybe he ventured further away than that. Let's reposition quickly. Well, isn't this fun? And aren't we so fortunate to be seeing such a quality sighting of this leopard? Like I said earlier, to see and hear it vocalized this many times is an absolute treat. And by far the most vocalizations that I've been able to share with you since we started here in November. And there she goes again. So, some of you are still a little bit nervous and concerned that something may have happened to Sindile, and that's why he's not responding to the calls. And Mauricia and Anne have both said that they are aware of how leopards can react when they lose their cubs from previous sightings of Karula when she lost her cubs. And for those of you who have not seen it, what the leopards will do is they will keep searching in the area where the cub was last seen, going back, calling as much as they can, hoping that there's still a chance that the cub may still be there. And Mauricia and Anne would like to know if Shudder would act the same way, having lost a cub, even though it's considerably old now. It's not a the cub could be. I've also seen leopards carrying their dead cubs and even actually feeding on their own cubs that they have lost. So some strange things do happen out here, but the calling and searching for the cub for a few days after it's been lost is fairly typical behavior of leopardess once they have lost their young. And it's important to realize that unless a leopardess is an extremely good and lucky mother, they will lose a high majority or a high percentage of their cubs throughout their life, and the mortality of most predators' cubs is high. Interestingly enough, it's most often their own species that will kill the cubs. It's males who did not father cubs will kill them in order to allow the opportunity of mating with that female to happen immediately, rather than waiting for any female to continue raising a cub that is not their own. While we're in for a treat, the sun's slowly beginning to dip down below the horizon, and we're getting some magical afternoon light filtering through here. Is she going to clamber up this marula tree that's kind of fallen down in front of her? I've got a feeling she might. Well, it's not just Mauricia and Anne that are concerned about Sindile, but it's also Karen. Hello, Karen. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, and I think he's just a little bit too far away, fast asleep, digesting his full belly of Impala. So, not to worry. And we've got another question through from Dave, and Dave is interested to know how far will the call of a leopard be heard from, and it depends on who you're asking or who you're referring to in terms of who can hear the call, because leopards may be able to hear the call from a lot further away than us humans can. So for us as humans, I think probably 2 kilometers would be a realistic distance for us as humans to be able to hear a leopard's call. But leopards themselves can probably hear from considerably further away from that, providing the conditions are right. That doesn't quite add up, because I don't think Sindile is 4 kilometers away. But the wind and the area that he may be lying in, he might be lying in a low-lying riverbed where it's difficult for him to hear her. And there she goes, calling again. You won't be able to hear because the vehicle's running, but I'll let you know anyway. She's just a little bit far off though. She's not heading in the right direction. She needs to head to the treehouse waterhole. She's basically backtracking now on her last pathway that she came in on this morning. But sadly, she doesn't know that he actually followed further along on the same trajectory that she was moving on towards Treehouse Waterhole. When they split up, it wasn't an official goodbye. He eventually just dropped back and she continued, and we stopped seeing him and continued following her. So she won't be exactly sure where she left him. She'll just know that general area. But I fear she is making the wrong move by going further back. And I really, really do hope that she manages to get a hold of him before the end of the broadcast, because I've only managed to see them reunite on one occasion, and sadly we were quite far away from them when they actually reunited. We could see them, but it was from a distance. The bush was very thick and hard to keep up with him as he ran towards her. Okay, well, time to reposition again. for a treat here again. Perfect afternoon sunlight. Oh, didn't hang around for long enough though. And Sandy and Joanne have both asked an interesting question. They're interested to know if I think there's a chance that if she doesn't manage to relocate him, will she head back to the kill, feed on it for a while, and then come back and try and call him? And it's a question that I'm not going to be able to answer because I've actually never been in a scenario like this. I've never been in a situation where I've actually seen a leopard calling for a cub for so long and not managing to find it. So I'm not sure what she's going to do. I think there is a chance, if it goes on for much longer, that she will naturally need to take care of herself and go and feed on some of that kill, whatever it may be. And also Sandy and Joanne mentioned that she might want to hoist that kill up into a tree if she hasn't already done so. That's another good point that she may be interested in doing. Here she comes past us again. Go ahead, Brent. Yeah, affirmative. We were just north and west of you now. Brent, if you get to that area on Shabam Road where the road's quite deeply rutted, that's where his last tracks were heading east towards Treehouse Dam. If you want to take a walk around there, you might pick up those tracks. Well, good to know that Brent's going to try and hurry along Sindile and let him know that he's in deep trouble with his mother. I wouldn't be surprised to see him swat him once or twice after this whole ordeal. He's going to run in very excitedly, and she's probably going to be so furious with him. I hope we get to see what does finally happen. I'm hoping now that she's backtracked a little bit, she appears to be thinking about moving. No, she's still kind of backtracking. I was hoping she was going to start tending back towards the area that she was in initially, because she was closer to him then. Something we haven't discussed is her ability to smell him and follow him by scent. So thank you, Laura, for sending your question through. Laura's interested to know if it is possible for her to follow his scent trail, and it definitely is. So maybe it's just through default that she hasn't moved through the exact correct area to find his scent trail, but it is certainly possible for her to follow the scents of him. And it's something that she may try and do, I guess, if she doesn't have any further luck with calling. Well, another thing that I haven't mentioned yet this afternoon is how old this leopard is. So now it's time to thank Fran, who says she is from the UK. And Fran would like to know, how old is this leopard? And she was born around December 2006 or February or January 2007, which puts it around 8 or 9 years of age now. So not very old. You could say she's almost in her prime at this age. But it's not uncommon for leopard to live twice as long as that, and possibly even a little bit longer. So she's hopefully still going to be around for quite some time. And hopefully she'll continue to raise more litters. She hasn't been lucky and successful in raising one cub to date. So Sindile is her first and best opportunity and a likely probability that she will get one cub raised to adulthood. And hopefully now she's learning the tricks of the trade and she'll continue to raise more. Well, I'm sure a lot of you would be happy to go and help Brent search for Sindile and tell him that his mother's calling him. So they're going to send you over to Brent, and we'll catch up to you once we've repositioned a little bit later.
Welcome back, everyone. Scott just let you know we're going to the area where Scott last saw Sindile's tracks. I'm hoping possibly he might have moved down towards the water at Treehouse Dam. So we're going to go have a quick look down there. We're going to switch off. We're going to listen for a little bit, see if we can pick up any alarm calls of birds or antelope, and then maybe go have a quick stroll a little later before it gets too dark around that last set of tracks. There's a couple of reasons why he might not be responding to Mother Darling's calls. Is that he's caught something, probably something small, and he's eating it and he doesn't want to share. It's the most likely of reason. Obviously there are other reasons that are not as pleasant, as that he might have been caught by another male leopard or by lions, but I don't think so. No lion tracks around, no tracks for other male leopards, so I think he might have caught something and he's being a bit selfish and he wants to eat it without sharing with his mother. Go, there's the Treehouse waterhole, and his last tracks were heading in this general direction. You can see the mud now starting to come through as we head further into the dry season. And in a month or two, I think it'll be looking very similar to the Juma and Twin Dams waterholes. Oh, there's a little three-banded plover there, Brian, having a forage on that little mud bank. So light, it doesn't sink in. If I had to try stand there, I would probably disappear into smelly black mud. Drive along the other side of the dam. I'm going to have a quick look into there. There's a nice big jackalberry or African ebony that we have seen Tingana put hoist the killer into before. So we'll stop parallel to that and use the binos, see if we can see anything there. So we're having a very much a kitty cat afternoon. I mean, Scott's been having that incredible sighting with Shadow, and Brian and I had a very brief sighting of a serval, and not something we see too often, so it really gets us excited. And Cindy from Tennessee was wondering, what do they eat? Cindy, they are magnificent little hunters. They are experts at birds, and they'll often take birds mid-air and jump and pounce out of the air and grab them. Also, most little rodents, scrub hares, little lizards, things like that, all will form an important part of their diet. Very occasionally they have been known to take sort of a duiker or a steenbok or a young impala, but that is abnormal rather than normal. The one that does that more often is a caracal, which is another little cat. Not one I've seen since I've been here, but I'm sure they might be around, and with this dry season getting more dry, it will be definitely, we might have a chance. So there's that big jackalberry, and I just want to have a quick look with my binos. Nope. Nothing there. So onwards and westwards towards the setting sun. So also, I might have forgot to mention though, while you guys were with Scott and Shadow, Brian and I were looking for Karula. And it was just before we spotted the serval, and obviously got so excited I forgot to tell you what we'd been up to. So I did manage to find Karula on foot. Unfortunately, she's in one of those really deep drainage lines. I couldn't see whether she had a kill there, but she is there, but we could not get a vehicle into it, which was very, very sad. I would have loved to have spent the afternoon with the Queen, but hopefully she might come out of there at some point. If she does have a kill, it could be a bit difficult because we couldn't get any closer. I didn't want to disturb her, as well as that it was very close to those buffalo bulls we saw right at the beginning of the safari with me, and that's the one animal that keeps you very honest when you're walking. You don't want to annoy a big group of buffalo bulls. It would be very detrimental to your health. So we're going to slowly make our way back to where Scott had the last tracks of young Sindile, and see, before it gets too dark, whether we can find anything around there. So obviously I understand you guys are quite worried about Sindile, and there's obviously a lot of chatter out there about why he's not responding to Shadow's calls. And Wild Dog Pup was wondering, would he actually sometimes start missing mom and call back? It is possible, yes. I have seen leopard cubs call for their mothers before, normally in response to the female calling. But as I said, I've got a sneaky suspicion he's got some meat that he doesn't want to share, and that's why he's not responding to mother darling. So we're going to cross back to Scotty with Shadow, and we're going to keep searching this area for Sindile.
Welcome back, everyone. And just like we were speaking about earlier about scent and how she could smell him, I think she's smelling where he was here from this morning. Look at how intently she's sniffing. She may even phlegm and grimace. Keep watching. She may grimace her lips, almost looking like she's snarling. And I'm fairly certain that is his scent that she can smell. She's even licking the ground there. This is really interesting. absolutely beautiful, and you can hear some impala snorting at her. Thankfully they don't have anything to worry about. She's not in the slightest bit concerned about them, because I think she's already caught possibly one of them or another animal, and now her main concern is trying to find her cub. Look at how beautiful this is. Thing there, so I'm not sure what it is exactly that she's rolling in, but like I said, I'm fairly confident it's his scent that she's really enjoying smelling. She's rubbing her face all over it. The good news is she has headed back in a slightly better direction now, closer to where he was. What does she see? Oh, look who it is! Finally! He's here! Here he comes! This is incredible! This is gonna be so awesome! Well, he came from completely the opposite area that I expected him to come in from. And get ready with your screenshots, because he's about to show a lot of love towards his mother. Look at this. Oh, sorry. This is too good. Can you believe it? Well, we're in luck, guys, and now we're hopefully going to see her taking him back towards the kill. That's my guess. Stations Shadows Bantuan has relocated with her. They are on Philemon's cut line just west of Shabam. Okay, well, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Well, I guess we've just seen one of the moments, and that's them reuniting. But now the next thing we're hopefully going to get to see is her leading him back to the kill. So let's see what happens, but if you did have any other plans, I'd suggest changing them, because this is going to be worth hanging around for. Oh. A little celebratory toot of the horn there. Looking quite thick, so I'm just going to reassess our angle of entry, and I'm sure a lot of you are breathing a huge sigh of relief. But as I suggested, it's unlikely that he would have got himself into trouble today, and it was merely that he had been roaming off too far. And he's moved, I mean, quite some distance from where I last had his tracks this morning. So really interesting for us to be able to start piecing together this puzzle of their lives and how they work and how far it is possible for him to move. I mean, we've got no idea of how far he actually moved, but we know it's quite some distance from where she left him this morning. And all these little bits of information that we gather along the way makes it easier for us to interpret their behavior and try and guess where they're going to be hiding in the future. Just in front of us now, so I'm going to not put too much pressure on her, and Sindile is in all likelihood going to follow past on the same pathway, so we'll get some good views of him. We were discussing this morning, it's very difficult to actually tell them apart. I feel that his coat seems considerably lighter than hers, but size-wise they look very similar, and he's slightly bigger, if anything. Okay, let's continue. We're going to have some negotiating to do here through this thick bush. Thank you, Andrew. It's a lot easier for me sitting in the comfortable front seat here. And Andrew gets flung around, as with all the other cameramen, so it's something for you guys to all bear in mind. The cameramen don't have it nearly as easy as we do in the comfort of these front seats. Earlier on, Andrew got us, and we try as best as possible not to get them into any thorn bushes. Well, I'm quite surprised that she's not moving more quickly towards I thought it would be a hill that she's made. So maybe she hasn't actually made one, and she simply wanted to relocate. So apparently the bushes scraping on the vehicle was making too much noise there for you to even hear what I was saying. And like I say, it does sound a lot worse than it actually is, and we are not causing nearly as much damage as it sounds like. But what I was saying is, while we were driving, is that I'm surprised she's not moving more intently towards the supposed kill that I expected, or that I thought that she would have made. So maybe she hasn't actually made one, and she merely wants to move into another area. You can see her phlegm grimacing there, helping to process smell better. And wouldn't it be interesting to know what exactly it is that she's trying to process, which scent? Well, it looks like she's forgiven him, and her motherly love has overridden her frustration, and now she's taking some time to groom him. What a treat. Look at the way he dangles his tail over her head. I'm sure a lot of you got some great screenshots earlier when they reunited, so feel free to share them with as many people as possible, I guess, because like I say, we need to spread the word. This is a bit of a hidden secret, Safari Live, and there's not nearly enough people that know about it. So always great to let other people know. I really enjoy letting people know about it, and they're often quite astonished that this is actually possible of happening, this live safari, and isn't it just too much fun, especially on an afternoon like this. And the good news is that this prospect of seeing the mother and cub together will continue for at least probably 6 more months before she slowly boots him out of her care, not out of her territory, but she won't be calling him back to her kill. She'll need to be using all that food and nutrition to start raising her next litter. And in the next 6 months, we can expect to see him grow considerably larger. His father is in all likelihood Tingana, a big male leopard. So he's got good genes, and it is really going to be interesting to see how big he gets. We may not be in the correct area to see him once he is fully grown, as he may have to move quite some distance before he establishes his own territory. Probably at around 4 or 5 years of age would be when they can start competing with other dominant males. And that's in quite some time from now, and he could have moved quite some distance from here. There's a chance he may be in the same general area, or in the Sabi Sands at least. So we'll be able to hopefully keep tabs on him, but we may not necessarily be able to view him for much longer. Much longer than, I'd say, another year or year and a half. Andrew, here. And as we got into position, they got up and started moving again. You can quite see how I think his coat's quite a lot paler than hers. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but if you look at the two of them, she's closer to us now. She's got a slightly darker coat, I feel. Oh, look at this. Oh. Not the most glamorous of tree climbing shadow, but a few tricky branches to negotiate there. Ah, this is too good. And now Mom's showing a little playful streak in her. He doesn't seem too interested in catching up to her just yet, but I'm sure he'll take a few opportunities to pounce on her when she's least expecting it. I know John from California was asking for an update earlier on the Birmingham Coalition of Lions. And I think I've just heard on the radio that they've been located on an airstrip. And I've just heard now that it's the airstrip on Buffels Hook to the north of us. So at least we know where they are, but sadly we can't get to go and see them, John. But maybe they'll come south again. I haven't seen them since they left here in February or March earlier in the year. We used to see them quite a little bit over November, December and January. And then February, March, they headed north into the Manulete. We didn't see them until they returned recently. But last time I was away at a wedding, they were back on the property. I didn't get to see them. And then now that I've been on leave for 2 weeks, they came back on the property and they've left again on my return. So maybe they don't like me. But I really am looking forward to seeing them again and seeing how much they've grown. I mean, I have seen some photos and video footage of them, but it would be nice to see them live, just to see how much they've changed over the last few months. So James is out on tracking team. He's been searching for Karula, but hasn't had any luck finding them. Finding her rather. Copy that, thanks James. I think Brent might be on foot looking for Shadow's Bantuan, which I've located. So Brent is off on foot searching for Sindile. And Nicky in the final control's got no way of letting him know that he's wasting his time, because he's certainly not going to find him because he's right here. Anyway, Brent is trying his best at least. I must apologize hugely to Whiskey Bravo. I'm not even sure what happened or why I stopped answering your question earlier about the proximity that we can get to these wild and potentially dangerous animals. But basically, humans have been dominant on Earth for quite some time now, and animals have got an instinctive fear of us. So most of the time they will avoid us, and it was us that was hunting them, not so much them that was hunting us in the more recent years. And that is why leopards and lions will tend to avoid humans at all costs in most scenarios. Records of man-eaters are very, very few, considering how many people live in Africa and how many wild animals there are in Africa. And in the Sabi Sands and most wilderness areas, when we initially started out here many years ago, the animals would have been very scared of us and run away from us. But over many, many years of gentle persuasion, we've convinced them that we actually don't cause any trouble to them, and that all we want to do is view them. And just like Shadow would have been introduced to vehicles from a young age because her mother was relaxed, so too has Sindile, and they don't see us as a threat or a food source. The reason why it's more risky on foot, Whiskey Bravo, than being in the vehicle is that we've got a bigger chance of startling an animal, and when an animal is startled, it could be very scared, and when something's very scared, it's either going to run away or it's going to decide to fight you if it feels cornered or too threatened or too close to run away. So that is why it is more dangerous to be on foot than in the vehicle. The vehicles they can hear coming from a long way off, so the chances of us surprising them is very slim. And basically what would have happened, especially with the leopard, but even the lion in this area, is, like I say, lots of gentle persuasion and habituation, convincing them that we're not actually going to be a threat to them. And it would have just been a handful of leopardess that were habituated many years ago, probably 40 to 50 years ago in the 1960s, when people started using this area as a photographic destination, that people started investing a lot of time trying to win over leopard. And from all of the offspring of those few leopard, it slowly spread through the entire Sabi Sands, and that's why this is one of the best places to see leopard in Africa. Not necessarily because there's more leopards here than elsewhere, but because they are habituated. Afternoon stations, can anyone copy me? Just trying to get a hold of the Arathusa guys and let them know that these two leopards are heading towards one of our boundaries where they will be allowed to join in the sighting. If anyone can copy me, Shadow and Bantwana mobile towards Gowrie, Maine. Probably a couple of 100 meters west of Triple M, sorry, east of Triple M. Can any station copy me? It's Scott here. Trying another channel now. Just an update. Shadow and Bantwana mobile towards Gowrie, Maine at Triple M. They're probably 10 minutes out if they continue. I'm going to be back on the Weird Teller channel, but we'll keep you guys updated if they get closer. Well, I think my predictions of him having made a kill might be wrong, or maybe she's just taking her time leading him back to it. It's going to be interesting to know and see, and thankfully we've still got some time to see what does unfold. Usually she would be moving a lot more intently in one direction without stopping so much, but who knows, maybe she's tired and she's had a long day out hunting. And as we see Sindile disappearing off into the distance here, we can answer a question from Elaine in Massachusetts. It is something I've touched on, but I will mention it again. Elaine's interested to know how much longer will Sindile be around his mother for before he needs to be self-sufficient, and what will happen when he does need to become self-sufficient. It's a good question, Elaine. The usual process is that anywhere from 18 months to 2 years of age, a leopardess will release her cub and no longer fend for it as much in terms of feeding it and looking after it. It will still be tolerated within her territory and will in all likelihood camp out within her territory in similar areas to where we've been seeing them now. The major difference is that she simply will be avoiding him at all costs, because she's going to want to try and mate with the male leopard as soon as she's moved him off, and after that she's going to need to use all the food that she gets to raise those little cubs that are growing in her stomach, and she doesn't want to need to keep feeding him. He needs to start feeding himself. And that's not to say though that he's not going to on several occasions stumble upon her and find her with her kills, because he will be moving through the same territory as hers, so they still will be seen together but not nearly as frequently. And then he will probably be tolerated within that same territory of his mother for probably close to another half a year to a year before he then eventually moves out into a different area. He's just over to our left there, but I'm going to keep moving and try and get ahead of him. I've lost track of where she has gone. So like I said, Elaine, probably until he's about 2 years to 2.5 years of age will he continue being in this general area, and then he'll only move out. On certain occasions with young male leopards, I've seen that have been kicked out by their mothers. I've seen on one scenario where I think Shadow's actually hunting something. Her body language has changed dramatically. You can just see her through this tiny little crack in the branches, but there was something running up ahead of her. And you can tell by her body language that she's very interested in it. Well, as I was saying though, I've seen a 2.5-year-old male leopard who would be left with the next generation of tiny little cubs while the mother went off hunting, and on some occasions we would even see the 2.5-year-old male, the female, the 2 younger cubs and his father together, so 5 leopards together. And it was the most bizarre scenario. As I said, he was almost like a babysitter. He would just hang out with the little cubs while she was off hunting. So these strange things do happen against the norm and against what is written in textbooks. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to see Sindile together with Shadow and the next generation. That's something to look forward to. Now the fact that she is showing intent and stalking something up ahead of us does not mean that she hasn't caught something elsewhere. It's not uncommon for leopard to have 2 kills hoisted. It's the most I've seen. I'm sure it's happened on certain events that maybe even 3 or 4 kills are made at the same time or at similar times. I think we need to relocate. We don't have the best angle from here, so now that she's not showing as much intent in the hunting and that I'm confident we're not going to chase anything away, I think it is safe for us to move forward and get a better view. Well, I must apologize to Stephanie in California, who hasn't been sure of why I've been saying Sindile over the radio. And Stephanie, Sindile is the name that was given to this young male leopard that we're looking at now. And that is why I've been calling out that name. It's not one of the regular animals that we would call over the radio. A leopard in the local Shangaan language is an ingwe, or he's also mentioned sometimes as Shadow's Bantuan, meaning Shadow's youngster or Shadow's baby. And just to let all of you know that there is a strong chance, or it's definitely going to happen, that Sindile will be renamed by the Arathusa guides when he is finally self-sufficient. And we've just given him this name as a temporary WildEarth fix. It is important to know that all of the other guides will not refer to him by Sindile. It's just us here at WildEarth that call him that. And that's because usually leopards are only named once they are independent and not before that. So it's just kind of a tradition and a protocol that has been in place and will continue to be in place, but I guess we're a little bit different. And I'm told that a potential name for him will be Madiba, which is, I guess, a nickname for Nelson Mandela. And I think Madiba would be a very fitting name for this young male leopard. So that is one of the probable names. Watch closely here. She's going to growl at him because she wants to get him away from this hunting opportunity. Watch closely here. Watch this. She was highly agitated. And let's see if she continues to show this aggression towards him. And this is very typical behavior that we can expect to see as she decides to displace him, or not displace him, and certainly not disown him, but make him self-sufficient and make him realize that he's not going to be looked after here by anymore. It's usually just a series of snarls and growls, and it's very seldom a physical contact or fight that they have. It's more of a verbal thing. And a lot of you may be confused and think that it's contradicting that she's gone to call him and then now she's growling at him. But I think the reason why in this case is because there was some potential prey nearby and now it's moved off and she's blaming him. She's still not happy. Go ahead. Ephraim, I'm in the block between Gowrie Main, Philemon's cut line, and Rebecca's. I'm not too far from Rebecca's though. Ephraim, one of the other guys, was just asking for an update there on the radio. Just going to reposition ever so slightly. Oh, sorry, Shadow. Oh, look at this. and we'll be losing light here, so that's why Andrew had to flick one of his special switches to let in a bit more light. What a magical evening it is. There's hardly a breath of wind. It's a wonderful, wonderful temperature. And look at those colors out to the west. You see, now I'm wondering if she just wanted to touch bases with him again after the course of today, and the aggression and frustration she's showed now has been her telling him, stay here, I'm going to look for the next meal, leave me alone and don't go too far. So I'm guessing that is one possible theory to see why she all of a sudden also started growling at him now. Okay, well, we're going to send you across to Brent quickly, and he's got an interesting little update that he'd like to give you, and then we will see you again shortly.
Welcome back, everyone. So what Brian and I decided to do is come sit here next to the water. The buffalo have moved away and we're hoping Karuna might come out. Unfortunately, she hasn't. But we are going to be doing a camera test tonight with a really fantastic little camera. We're trying to increase our night capabilities. So we will be extending while we do that test, and you're more than welcome to join me while I do that. But for now, we're going to leave you with Scott and Shadow and Sindile. And apparently he's a naughty boy and he's being shouted at by his mother. I have been in that seat many times in my younger years, so enjoy your list. And as I said, we will be live, so you can follow on with us. It won't possibly be as flowy as a normal game drive as we are testing, but you're more than welcome to join us for that.
Well, welcome back, and if she was telling him to stay put, he's not listening, but she did just vocalize again, so hard to tell exactly what's going on. But like I said, it wasn't long before she vocalized again, and now he's hot on her trail. If they continue like this, they're probably going to cross either south into a property called Hoffman's, where we cannot go, or east into Arethusa. Sorry, west into Arethusa. So ideally it'll be them heading into Arethusa, because then there's a chance that James and Brent, who will be out tomorrow morning, will be able to try and follow up on them. Not sure where Shadow's gone, but Sindile is still making his way towards this road. We've just got a little bit ahead of him. So that hopefully we can get a few last views of him coming towards us. Did you just hear her there?
Yeah, I just saw.
Oh, here we go. There he comes. I can hear her, she's still calling, but she's moved quite a way east from here. I'm just going to get onto the Arethusa channel quickly and let the guys know. Is anybody interested in Shadow and Bantuan? Okay, copy. Shadow's currently further west of him. I think she could almost be on Triple M now. She's vocalizing, and he's a little bit further behind, just north of Gowrie Main, but heading straight west. I'll stay on this channel. Affirmative, 50 meters north of Gowrie Main, heading west. We're a little bit east of Rebecca's Road, probably 200 meters or so from Triple M. So just trying to let the Arethusa guys know what's going on and share this information with them. I'm not sure if you saw those birds fly off there, they were red-crested corans. Oh, well, it's been a fair share of off-roading today. So I'm looking forward to getting onto this road that we're about to turn onto shortly. You may have heard Shadow calling there, and as you have heard, we are going to be extending the broadcast by half an hour tonight because Brent's going to be trying out a new camera that works well in very, very low light, or no light, I'm told. So that is the plan, and I guess Andrew and myself will try and stay with these leopards for as long as possible then. He is heading into a tricky area here. I'm wondering if we are going to be able to stay with him, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to try for as long as possible. Just up ahead of us now. I'm just going to use the spotlight temporarily, sporadically, just to make sure we've got an eye on him until we get into a better spot. That way we won't be attracting any unnecessary attention to him.
Fuck off.
Alright. Go ahead. I'm not sure, but the Bantuan's heading straight there. You'll be there in a minute or two, just north of Gari Main. So we are approaching the boundary between Djuma and Arathusa. We're going to be there shortly, but we will be able to continue because they're crossing straight into Arathusa, which is where we can go. Oh, it is too thick to even attempt following through this thick bush here. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop ahead and wait on the road. It'll be our best chance of seeing him again. So, judging by the sound of her audio, it sounded like she was heading straight west, and that's why I think it's going to be best for us to loop ahead and wait to see if we don't see her crossing and potentially him as well. He's certainly going to have to cross at some stage, but he might lie down, who knows. There are two vehicles, that sounds like, from Arathusa that are going to come and join here in the hope that they'll get a glimpse of them. So we can expect a few other vehicles to be arriving shortly. But for now, we can just sit and wait and listen to the bush and see if we can't hear her calling again, possibly. I just heard her calling now, still coming towards us. I'm just standing by here. They moved into some very thick vegetation, but can still hear her vocalizing. She's still mobile west towards Triple M, so I think it's best to just stand by here. Now, while we wait, we can answer some of your questions. So if you haven't sent through a question yet and you have been our viewer for quite some time, and I know there's a lot of you out there, please send us a question. And it's really easy to do so, whether you're a long-time viewer or a first-time viewer. All you have to do is hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And we've got a question through from Dr. Debbie. Good to have you with us. And she's interested to know if a single cub will become independent quicker than several cubs or 2 cubs because it may be more focused on its surroundings. Not that I've seen, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. Whether there's 1 or 2 of them, I think they're going to develop at very similar rates. And even though if there are 2 cubs, they may distract one another, they're still going to have good life lessons that they can learn by being with one another. Chasing one another and stalking one another is still good practice, even though they may not be stalking an actual prey item. It's still the art of stalking that they're practicing. So I don't think it's going to make a big difference, and I haven't noticed a difference between independence or age of independence between single cubs or multiple cubs. We got another question through from Dennis in Massachusetts. Good to have you with us, Dennis. Dennis is interested to know if Shadow picked up the scent or any know-how that the Anderson male, not the father of her cub, he's a new male pushing into the Tingana's territory, who is the father of this cub. If she detected any sign of him, would she move Sindile further away? 100% yes, she certainly would. And that is the reason that we have agreed on and theory that is why it's caused her to push further into Djuma. So her territory has shifted. She was almost entirely only on Arethusa since we started filming here in November, December, and January. But in the 2 or 3 months ago, she started pushing further east into Djuma, and now she's spending a lot of time here. And I think that is because the Anderson male is pushing into the western portion of her territory, and it therefore makes sense for her to leave Sindile far away. Interestingly enough, Dennis, there was a scenario that unfolded not too long ago, I think 3 weeks to a month ago, where she had made a kill. It was a duiker kill, but it was very close to the area that Anderson moves in, to the west of Arethusa, and she actually didn't take Sindile back to that kill. And we weren't sure why, but look what we found. Well, look what found us. It's young Sindile, it's not Shadow. And aren't we lucky? Oh, it is Shadow. Apologies. You see, it's very difficult to tell who's who. How awesome is the side lighting from the other vehicle? Casts a shadow, creating a great look, but only for as long as the torch is being shone on it. I'm just going to make space for this other vehicle to get past. And she's just snuck off across the road there. You can see her going straight into Arethusa. It'll be interesting to see if we were to wait here, if Sindile would pop up, still continuing to follow her. I'm guessing it is possible, but no guarantees. The area she is now headed into, though, is an absolute nightmare to drive through. So I think I'm going to leave that one vehicle with her, and he can enjoy some views of her. That way we're not going to congest the sighting and cause any unnecessary disruptions to Shadow as she's hunting this evening. And like I say, it just gets incredibly thick in that area. So I think what we can start doing is ambling back towards camp and see what we can find along the way. Cheers guys, I'm back on WildEarth channel, enjoy it. Well, I've got some good news everyone. Brent is up and running with the other camera and he is ready to receive you. Oh, good evening, how are you doing? Very good. So it's time for me to bid you all farewell and wish you all an enjoyable extended drive with Brent and the new camera. I hope it works well and I hope he finds some interesting stuff for you. And thanks so much for joining on this afternoon safari, and to all of you that sent through your questions and comments. It really is awesome, and thanks for doing that. And thanks to Nikki and Jess in the final control room for managing the broadcast, and to Andrew on camera, who got a few punctures earlier from thorns, but he seems to be okay. We will see you all on the next safari, and enjoy Brent's nighttime adventure.
Welcome back guys. This is quite exciting for us, testing out a new camera to see if we can extend our drives a little bit into the evening and hopefully see some of those more interesting smaller mammals that are nocturnal, and some of the bigger mammals and what they're doing at night. We've got a kudu right here. We're just going to have, Brian's just going to be fiddling quite a bit, so we might be chatting a bit, but otherwise just like a normal game drive. And we've got a kudu, so we're going to go have a look and see how the new camera works. And we're obviously not putting a spotlight on the kudu. So here we go. Isn't that incredible? We can actually see the kudu.
Let me change lenses.
So bear with us for a second. We're on a very wide lens at the moment, and there's a lot of chopping and changing. So we're going to change to a longer lens and see what the capabilities of that lens are. So this is really exciting, obviously, for all of us here, for the cameramen, the guides, everyone in FC. We're really excited to be able to extend into the darkness. And obviously, as I said, just a test at the moment, so hopefully it's going to work nicely. Yes, I'm going to turn off all the lights now. And how does that look, Brian? And lens cap helps.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's definitely going to be very dark. So, do you need me to use the spotlight, Brian, on the ground, just so you can find them?
Okay, use. Try it out. Yeah, just like that again. That's cool.
So it's going to be a bit grainy. We really pumping up the ISO to enable us to see in the dark, and unfortunately that does come with a little bit of grain. So unfortunately, with the new camera, I don't have a monitor, so I can't actually see what the camera is seeing. But with my naked eyes, I cannot see the kudu in front of me at all. I just can make out a little bit of the road and some trees on the silhouette. I can't see any of the animals. But apparently, from what I hear and looking at Brian, you guys can. So isn't that amazing?
I'm looking at the sky.
So we've only got the little side lights on. Brian's going to now have it come off the kudu and take you up into the sky. One of the things we're hoping we're going to be able to show you some stars with this new equipment. Do you want to try the moon?
Yeah, let's go for a moon.
So we're going to try get up on the moon now. So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, is that you can even see the dark side of the moon. Reminds me of that wonderful, wonderful Pink Floyd album. And I'm sure you can see some of the craters on the light side. Any men up there, Brian?
Not today. Let me come over that one.
Okay. So we're going to move along and keep testing the equipment. Hey, kudus are gone and I didn't even see them disappear. We're going to keep checking for anything out here. At the moment I can't see any more animals, but we'll check. Maybe there's some impala on quarantine. Some duiker. Little pair of duiker I've just spotted. Stop now. You got them there, Brian? So during the day, we often see duiker, but they disappear very quickly. Might be a little bit more relaxed at night. How's it looking, Brian?
Pretty decent. Holy moly.
So there we go. You can see that little duiker moved out of the thickets out into the open to feed during the evening. Isn't this amazing, guys? One of the animals that runs away from us so often during the day, and now just continuing on its business in the evening. We've just got the side lights on. I'm going to turn them off now, Brian, so you can test.
Which black? Let me see.
So I've just turned off the little side lights. We're going to see if we can...
Yeah, that gives me nothing.
it's too dark, so we need the side light on. And we can hear the little Scops owlet calling in the distance. Burp, burp. One of my favorite calls in the bush. There's a hyena coming right in front of us, Brian. There we go. You got him?
Yeah,
Yep.
got it.
So we're going to try follow this hyena with just the little side lights on. I might have to use, there's the duiker bounding away in front of the hyena. I might have to use the spotlight to just stay with him, but we will try. How's that, Brian?
No, that's okay.
Looks like he's coming to visit our house, heading in that general direction. How's it looking, Brian?
Yeah, pretty decent.
Hyena off on its nightly patrols in search of carrion and food, and means the right thing. So he's starting to run away as we keep following. So I'm going to let him relax a little bit. How's it looking there, Brian?
Yeah, good.
Has he stopped?
Yeah.
So the hyena is probably about 40 or 50 meters from me at the moment. I can just make him out, just see the movement as he heads towards our camp. If we're following an animal, there's a possibility. I'm just going to get back to the road, and I've spotted the hyena again. He's quite far from us, and I'm going to try to loop around in front and see if we can get another nice view of that hyena. So the lens is on, that's as wide as it can go at the moment, unfortunately. But as I said, we are testing. I think that hyena can smell our dinner being cooked, which smells wonderful. We're having a braai tonight. There's the hyena, and I think he's a bit jealous. So obviously you can't see me, unfortunately, at the moment. I'm sure you'd much rather look at this hyena in the eerie low light, and he's heading straight for our camp.
No.
So unfortunately it is monochrome, but Brian's saying that's all he's going to be able to get out of it. Now that hyena is literally, I might have to have a talk to that hyena. It's heading straight in to visit the camp. That could be the hyenas are incredible. That for the last 200,000 years they have actively scavenged not only off lions and leopards and that, but off people. And we're incredibly messy, so he's just seeing if there's a gap. He's just walked past. You can see the entrance to our camp there. The gate's still open because we're a house. And just coming to have a squiz, make sure everything is hunky-dory. And there we go, he's just walked. He's checked the entrance gate. See, he looks like he's guilty. He was going to go try and get into the rubbish. So as I was saying, hyenas have been scavenging off people for the last 200,000 years, and they do have a natural fear of man, but not to the same degree as lions and that. They didn't really kill hyenas, sort of chase them, and even if you chase a hyena away, they normally run a little bit and then they'll stop after about 50 meters and carry on walking. They're not nearly as afraid of us as sort of lions and leopards. We still got them. No, I can't see him anymore.
Around the corner?
Run around the corner.
Yeah, the corner to the right.
There he is. I still can't see him, but I'm taking Brian's word for it. There we go. Now we can. Disappearing off into the bush. But they are fascinating creatures, and we definitely need to try to find the new hyena den.
Okay, battery change, lens change.
Okay guys, we're going to do a quick battery change, so you're going to lose picture for a second, and we're going to change to the wider lens again for a little bit. Okay, are we switching on again? Oh, well, hello. Welcome back, everyone. So we've changed to the wider lens now. I'm going to go see, and as it gets a little bit darker, I'm going to head out into the open a little bit. and try see if we can maybe catch a bit more of the Milky Way. So we're going to go check down towards the Juma Dam, Cam, and see if we get any luck down there. I can tell you our dinner smells quite fantastic from here. Nothing like a bit of nyama on the fire. Very much a popular African tradition. Nyama is the Zulu and Shangaan word for meat, and with a lot of these different words, there's some very important words. Oh, there we go, white-tailed mongoose. Oh, it's gonna be I'll try to get close enough to that lens, bro. We might run. So I was talking about finding the little more interesting nocturnal mammals that we don't really see that often, and here is one of them. I'm going to turn off the main spotlight and just use these little side lights. Are we close enough, bro?
Not really. I have to change lenses again.
Let's just try. We're not going to change lenses, unfortunately. I think he'll be gone, but he is quite close to us now. So it's the largest mongoose species we get here. How's it look, Brian?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
You can see that very distinct white tail. He's jogging off. I'm going to try to keep with him. So it's off foraging. They're actually really incredibly beautiful little, well, not so little, they're very big mongoose species. Oh, have a rest. Always heard something. There might be a little rodent or something around. So, who knows, maybe we'll see a kill. Right, I can't see the same details here as possibly. Can you see if he's listening for something? Nope. He's listening possibly for a small rodent or something in the grass or an insect. So he's listening very intently. I'm hoping maybe he makes a little pounce at something in the grass. But you can see he's quite a lot more relaxed without too many lights around, just these little side lights, throwing some ambient light out there. We're going to try, because he's being so still, a quick lens change. It's not often we see them, and especially not this relaxed. So guys, it's really important, and you, all our viewers out there, are really, really important to us. And it's so amazing that you're able to see a little bit of behind the scenes now while we're testing this new equipment. And let us know what you think. And look how amazing that is. I mean, defecating. Oh, and he's just having a wee. I can't see that closely. I just saw the body shape change a little bit. So isn't this amazing? There we go. Might head off foraging again. I'm just going to move forward to try catch him. With a long white tail. You still got him, Brian?